Hello, everyone. It is I, a Geek for Fun, and I am joined with the wonderful co-writer of Dragon Ball DC and main writer of something you may have watched, Dragon Ball Aliens. Go watch that right now. Sid Part 2.
Hello. How's everyone doing? Doing good? Oh, they're doing good.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that you could just hear them through the screen, apparently.
Yeah, no, we're just having a conversation. I don't know why you had to butt in like that. So how you doing, folks? Oh man, damn! I'm so sorry to hear about that. No, that's really rough. Why don't you just take a minute, just collect yourself. You got some tea? Yeah, you should get yourself some tea. That'll really help.
Well, I say,
Cool.
throw that goddamn tea in your face, because we're here to talk about Dragon Ball Super, and if there's anything piping hot takes with tea, it's the Dragon Ball Super Manga. This is going to be a new thing that we're going to be trying to do every month. We'll see how it is, because there's kind of like a rush in Dragon Ball fandom to like get the reviews out as fast as possible. We're not really like that because, again, we're smaller, we're fine. You guys can listen to this and have fun and maybe get a different perspective than you might see otherwise. The reason why we're starting with this chapter, number 67, is because we didn't want to start like near the end of the Moro arc because like it just wouldn't be like a clean break point. But given this is the start, like the end of the Moro arc and jumping right into the start of this new arc, we feel like it's like a good like issue 1, like a good jumping on point to do a review series, and we can give our thoughts on like how this chapter wraps up and the Moro arc in general, because I'm caught up for a while and recently you just caught up with the manga.
Yep, I read the whole ass manga over like 2 weeks, and then waited for this final chapter to drop for a good month. So twas fun.
Well, that's good then. We've got we've got like a little bit more of, because we don't necessarily agree on a lot of things, but we haven't had the chance to talk about Moro arc specifically. So I think we want to talk about like just that half of this chapter, and then near the end we can go into like ideas and like the setup for the new thing. So just in general, with now that it's all said and done, how did you find the Moro arc, or as it's actually called, the Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc, but no one calls that.
I do actually like that name better, not gonna lie, but it's fine. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. It was like, it's not. I don't think anything in it is some of my favorite stuff in Dragon Ball or anything like that. But there's a lot going on here that I really, really enjoyed. There's a lot in here that I thought was really cool. Part of the reason we're doing this is, like, I'm not even prior to about a month ago, I wasn't even reading the Dragon Ball Super Manga. I think I've read maybe 2 or 3 mangas in my whole life, honestly. And yet I just was seeing so much shit talking and hatred for the Moro arc and the Dragon Ball Super Manga and just everything online. And I know Alfie was seeing a lot of it too. And obviously everyone's entitled to their opinions, but it just legitimately made me wonder, like, it can't possibly be this bad. It's just, this kind of collective thought on a thing to just rag on it, because I guess that's easier. And so I wanted to like give it a shot for myself, and we decided, it'd be a good excuse to start doing chapter reviews and see if people in the community would be interested in that. Because generally, my experience with it is pretty positive. Kind of my thing as I was reading through the manga, catching up, is I liked quite a bit of it. There were things in it I genuinely enjoyed. But it was weird because I'd seen the anime for Super, and it's wildly different because, of course, the anime and the manga just both go off of Toriyama's notes and then kind of go from there, and otherwise they're pretty much independent stories at that point. And so it always felt weird reading the manga and feeling like, I like this thing better, but I like this other thing the anime did better. And so, like, the perfect version of this story was just somewhere in the middle of those two. But Moro doesn't have anything animated for it yet, so it was just kind of kind of a cool experience to get to read the story in and of itself and not have anything preconceived about it. And that being said, I did quite enjoy it for that reason. I did quite like a lot of what was going on here for that reason. I thought Moro was maybe himself not a super compelling character, but I thought his function, I thought his power set was pretty unique as far as Dragon Ball goes, and I thought it worked pretty well to have him in this. I liked his function as a villain. Mm-hmm. So yeah, overall my thoughts on this are, I think, pretty positive.
I'm much with you in that, in like the same kind of sense. I feel like in general, I'm someone who like much prefers the Dragon Ball Super Manga to the anime. Like even giving like watching the anime first and then watching the manga and reading the manga. So I tend to always kind of lean towards this way. And I think that's mainly just because there is a little bit more of you can feel Toriyama's fingerprints around there a little bit more. There's a little bit more of like Dragon Ball choices that the anime sometimes doesn't have the luxury of doing because there's less of a communication barrier. Like Toriyama and Toyotarou have a direct line of communication, whereas Toriyama with Toei is not. It's like more logistics and there's not like a single line of person there. So more stuff they have to just make up on their own. So what's interesting about this arc is this is the first time Toyotarou is not working off a draft that Toriyama gave him and then adding things to it. This is his idea that Toriyama's like correcting and like showing little things in, but mainly just like hands off, aside from like artwork bits here and there, and maybe story things. Again, the behind the scenes of Super is something we don't know a lot about, but this is one of those cases where I definitely can tell the shift. Because I think one of the strengths of this arc and one of the negatives to this arc is it definitely feels like a Dragon Ball fan writing an arc. And I feel like that's good in a lot of ways and bad in a lot of ways, where I feel like Moro's just Cell comparisons are completely overblown and kind of just ridiculous. Like he's not like in any like. I think like the structure of the arc, people say, it's like it's like we're on Namek and we've been Namek before. It's like, yeah, Namek's a pretty key location in Dragon Ball. Like it's fine, guys. Like don't worry. So I think some of those comparisons are overblown. That being said, this arc does definitely feel like a greatest hits kind of vibe of like Dragon Ball, of like we have different segments where nearly everything in the past of Dragon Ball gets like a reference or gets like a homage to it. Through Vegeta specifically, which I think actually is a bit of an interesting thing through his through line, is that Vegeta, I saw someone pointed this out on Twitter, is Vegeta kind of is forced to go through like everything Goku went through in this arc. Like he has to go through kind of the trial by fires that Goku did. Like we start on Namek and it gets beyond the Namek and he has to go to Yardrat and it goes on Earth and he has to kind of learn to he gets effectively his own spirit bomb even to that extent. Like he learns into transmission. Like Vegeta has always been a anti-hero, I guess you could say, but in this arc it really does feel like we're finally addressing what that means for him specifically. There's a lot of time spent on how he feels about Namek, how he feels about his past deeds, and how in his mind he's just doomed to hell because his body count is so high and his past life is so bad that in his mind, even if this might not actually be the case literally, to Vegeta, no amount of good he can do will ever make up for it, but he's gonna try. And that's like a really, really interesting thing to take for Vegeta in Dragon Ball, like, because and you could say it's overdue, but I think it makes sense because this is the first time he's been back to Namek, and that was such an important thing for him, even though it's new Namek and not the same Namek. It's exactly the same planet. They even try to make it look different, like it's fine.
I mean, they wished for a new planet to be made. You fucking think Shenron or Porunga is gonna be like, okay, fine, I'm gonna make it like fucking red skies and lava flows and everything.
No geography was given. No geography classes were given to those dragons, that's for sure. But yeah, so like I like a lot of the stuff with Vegeta. I love a lot of the stuff with Goku, and his relationship with Maris. That I think is the spotlight of the arc, and that's something that this chapter really. Now that I see at the end of that, I really love how that wraps up. Where Goku as a baby was sent to Earth, and the Galactic Patrol sent Jocko to take him out and like to kill him, and through just happenstance, through just sheer luck. And kind of like a miracle, that didn't happen. But now, because of that, we're now at the point where Goku's getting a Medal of Honor as a Galactic Patrol member. Like, that's just like one of those cool little like narrative, fate is funny kind of moments that I really appreciate. But I also think it shows why someone like Maris, who is an angel or was an angel, would go through so much and like risk so much just from being inspired from Goku, and kind of the message of Dragon Ball of how Goku just kind of unintentionally changed people by just being himself and being true to himself and having that kind of ultimate level of not necessarily goodness, because he mentions multiple times like, oh, I only spade my villains because like I'm selfish and I want to see them. I want a rematch. Like, I can't have rematches if they're dead. Like, it's one of those things where, because he has such a true world belief and will be kind despite also following his own path, then yeah, it would make the most neutral beings in the universe who are designed that if you don't do this, you will be wiped from existence, decide to, no, fuck it, I want to actually try and help this guy, help save the universe. So all of that through line throughout the arc I think was wonderful. And I think there's a case to be made of like Maris's fate in this chapter, like he came back. Like, how do you feel about that?
I mean, like, I'm seeing people react to it, and it's hard to like make your own opinions when you see someone reacting before you get the chance to read it. So I'm not sure if my opinion on this has been colored by that significantly or not. But I've seen people reacting saying, oh, Dragon Ball just doesn't have consequences. I'm like, Dragon Ball's never really had consequences. The first time a major character dies, the whole arc is about getting them to come back to life. And that's kind of just rinse and repeat for every major arc after that, right? So, I don't know. Mira's coming back. It did feel like there was an element of finality to it that maybe the Dragon Balls wouldn't be able to save. And ultimately, the Dragon Balls don't. But now we're on this plane with gods of infinite power. So now you don't even necessarily need Dragon Balls, because Whis and the Grand Priest can just bring people back to life whenever they feel like it, apparently. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Like, I guess there's something to be said about, you know, there's no, like, Miras' sacrifice is ultimately meaningless, and it's just there for, like, the emotional payoff, but it doesn't really, like, have any narrative consequences after the fact. I'm like, I guess in the most strict sense, but I, you know, apply that logic to everything else in Dragon Ball, let me know how that goes for you. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the reaction I enjoy with it. Personally, I think, like, if I were writing it, I would have left his ass dead. He's a really cool new character, but that's like everybody in Dragon Ball. They're great when they first show up, and then they kind of forget what to do with them, and after an arc or two, they're just, you know, one of those sideline characters. So with that in mind, if it were me, I probably would have left him dead. I don't care, though. I think the logic is there. They show at the end of the Tournament of Power that Whis can bring anybody back whenever he feels like with Frieza. They show that the Grand Priest is infinitely more powerful than all the other angels, I guess. So there's really no reason that he couldn't bring Miras back if he felt like it. And that's kind of the terrifying thing about Zeno and the Grand Priest is they're just so dispassionate and can do whatever they want whenever they feel like. And that's kind of terrifying and weird. And Miras is a good example of that. So I don't know. I don't love the choice, but I don't think it's anything new for Dragon Ball, I guess.
And what really makes it work for me, at least, that does make me kind of love it, is the fact that he doesn't just get brought back wholesale. He's like, he gets brought back, but okay, you're not an angel anymore. You're now reborn as a mortal, and so you have none of your angel powers, and then you will die and live as a mortal. And what I love about that is that's framed in the Grand Priest scene with like Whis and Beerus as like this punishment, like this horrible thing, like to be turned into a mortal, or like Zamasu somewhere's like rolling in his grave. I'm like, no, never. But to Merus, that's kind of like the conclusion to his arc, right? Is he was the angel who always wished he was a mortal, and through breaking his kind of act of neutrality and being inspired by Goku, he got it. Like, he gets to just help now. He doesn't have to follow these bullshit rules. He doesn't have to have kind of the restrictions on him that Whis and everything does. And like, we see, like, when Merus did like die, Whis is really cold to him. Like, Whis is someone that I think kind of in the fandom, and even Beerus as well, they trying to pretend that they're nicer than they actually are. And I think that's something that Merus is really good at reminding us of, like, no, this is what, like, an actually nice person in this job would try to do, is eventually they'd get killed for it. And it's only thanks to someone else, like Shin, willing to sacrifice his own life, something that Beerus would never do, that gets him to come back. Like, and that, again, that's all from the influence of Goku and the influence of mortals and everything. So, to me, I think it's a really, really good conclusion to the arc that doesn't take away the stakes, because like the act of it is still important. Goku learning Ultra Instinct by being able to like control himself from seeing someone die in front of him instead of just getting angry like he normally would. That's still important, and that's still a lesson he learned. But at the same time, we now have this new status quo where like, okay, but like, did he keep his strength? Like, what is like Merus just like an angel level person just without like the crazy powers, or did he just go back to like, is he like Jacko now? Like, well, like, I'm very curious to see just what this will be in future, where we have a master of Goku around who actually gives a shit, which is kind of rare. Like, even Roshi's kind of like, oh, I'll let them handle it. But Merus actually like really, truly gives a shit, even more than Goku does. So I'm very curious to see, like, hell, will they, now that Merus is free, is he just going to be like, all right, first thing on their business, we need to take down Frieza.
Nah, leave him alone. He just got
back.
It was pretty bad. There was like teddy bears. No, actually, maybe. Yeah, I guess that's a really good argument for it. I hadn't thought of that. That's a pretty good point. I also, to your point about like it's seen as a punishment, I like that we get to see like Beerus's punishment getting ridden around like a horsey.
So
that's pretty good.
The panel of like those guards in like the jacuzzi is so good.
Yeah. So I quite like that. I don't know. The Moro arc overall, I think, had some really interesting highs. I do want to talk, I guess, a little bit more about the parallels to Cell, because that is something that people just like. I've seen people like taking direct panels, like side by side comparison, and some of it is a little bit like, okay, is that a reference or is it just going too far? And even like at one point, Moro, who I think had a really cool design overall. Like I really like old Moro, I think the most. But
yeah,
then,
same.
Like his young restored form is pretty good too. But then once he starts absorbing, 73 and all that stuff, it's not as It does definitely draw a comparison to Cell. I saw, like I said, people posting screenshots of different panels next to each other that are almost like direct one-to-ones. And that's, I don't know, that's a little concerning. I guess I'm kind of with you where it's like, you can definitely tell Toyotaro is a fan. And so if you want to be generous, you could say, okay, it's him as a fan just trying to pay homage and trying to do like his greatest hits kind of thing. I think if you want to be a little more cynical, you could say, yes, it's him as a fan trying to do that, but he's going too far and he's just straight ripping it. What's your thoughts on like not just the look of Cell and the story beats that kind of look like Cell, but like the fact that some of the art is, if not a one-to-one, so heavily referenced?
That's like that could almost be like its whole video, right? But just like kind of, for me at least, I think it's the case where Dragon Ball as an art style and Dragon Ball as a series does have a limited number of like, there's only so many ways the human body can move, and especially in Dragon Ball with certain Dragon Ball character designs, there's only, if Toriyama, and Toriyama's a master of doing this, but even Toriyama referenced other mangas during his work, if Toriyama's like, oh yeah, I figured out like this is the best impact panel for this moment, and Toyotaro just uses that and then moves on. To me, given that this is a Dragon Ball sequel series, it's fine, because again, it's Dragon Ball referencing Dragon Ball. That's not as... If he was... there was like a whole thing a while ago where like he... there was like a Captain America drawing that Toyotaro used for like a cover spin-off promotion. And that's like, come on, dude. don't do that. But when it's in the manga itself, and it's just Dragon Ball moments for Dragon Ball, I think it certainly is a negative. And I think it's an element that Toyotaro is still a young mangaka, that he's still... This is his first on... Like, all he's ever worked on is Dragon Ball projects. Whereas Toriyama did, like, Dr. Slump and a couple other things before doing Dragon Ball. Like, he was already a millionaire before he did Dragon Ball. And I think that's the difference, is this is someone who's using that, I think is more so that they're just not as confident in their own ability as Toriyama is. And to be fair, Toyotaro is on Twitter, so like, if I was seeing the shit that he gets shown all the day, I'd be pretty unconfident as well, I'm not gonna lie. I'd be like, well, I'll just use Toriyama's...
Yeah, no, the amount of hate the man gets, the amount of vitriol spit at it is just, it's just ridiculous. Fans just are so critical. You see this all the time. You see this with Star Wars a lot of the times. Like this happened with Ghostbusters a couple years ago. Fans get so critical when something is going back and adding to something that quote unquote finished in their childhood. And they get so critical of it to the point that they complain about things that are present in the original. That's something that I saw just constantly with like, oh god, I hate to do it because it's going to start a little mini flame war. But hey, comments like that will spur the algorithm. Like it's something like I saw with Force Awakens, and like I remember one of the complaints is like, oh, how could Rey do X, Y, and Z when she had no training? And I'm like, okay, maybe a fair point, maybe, but like Luke blew up the Death Star and fucking pulled a lightsaber out of the snow and used the Force to commune with Obi-Wan, did like all these things before he had more than the 5 seconds of training we see Obi-Wan give him. So like, why is it a problem in the new thing, but it isn't a problem in the old thing? And that's kind of where I come down on a lot of the issues I see people complain about with Toyotaro doing Super is like, yes, Moro structurally is comparable to Cell. You know, there's this new threat. The current forms and stuff aren't enough to take him down. He's absorbing things to gain power, and they go to the fucking Room of Spirit and Time to train to get better about it. Some new character introduced dies after giving a big speech, and it spurs on a transformation. The parallels are certainly there if you want to look for them. But you know what? Cell arc is really got a lot of structural similarities to Frieza arc. Cell himself has a lot of structural similarities to Frieza, even like so far as the design. Like look at the ears, for example, and the dome on the head and all that stuff. Like a lot of Imperfect Cell's feet are the exact same feet that he used for Frieza, and like there's a continuity reason in there that he's created from some of Frieza's cells. Yeah, sure, but like ultimately, when you look at it from a meta narrative perspective, he's that way because Frieza did so well in the market and said he wanted to create Frieza Part 2. That's what I'm going to change my screen name to.
Oh boy.
So like Cell has those comparisons to Frieza, and then Cell gets super popular, but they need to do a new villain, so they do Boo, and Boo eventually becomes a copycat of Perfect Cell with the absorptions and stuff. So Moro coming around and doing the exact same thing that Cell did to Frieza and Boo did to Cell just isn't that big a deal to me. Like I really don't care because I don't see it as a problem. And then there's things that I find particularly interesting because I really like the way in which Moro is defeated. I think that stands out significantly from Cell because you get like the thing that exploded the Dragon Ball Twitter sphere was Goku giving Moro a sensu bean. Like everyone got so fucking pissed, and I'm just like, no, that's it. Like it's what he should do. Like that's such a Goku move. I don't know why you would expect anything different. It's like he's acting as a galactic patrolman. His mission is to bring Moro in. He now has the power to do it, and Goku doesn't like to execute people. He doesn't like to kill people, period. He's particularly not a fan of executing them when they have just no chance against him. He didn't want to do it to Frieza until Frieza just forced his hand. And even then, I'm going to argue he fucking held back because Frieza survived it. So, him giving Moro a sensu is like this last thing, which is like, just come on, dude. He gave him terms beforehand. He's like, I will give you this if you promise to surrender and go back to your prison cell. And Moro agrees. And we're the audience are sitting there like, God, no, don't do it. The characters are even sitting on the sidelines. No, don't do it. But like, that's the point. That's character-driven drama. That's not poorly written character. That's writing the character perfectly in character. Characters can make bad decisions because of who they are. And I think that was handled really, really marvelously. To be perfectly honest, I think I like the Goku giving Moro a sensu bean more than I like the Goku giving Cell a sensu bean. Because the thing a lot of people are trying to say is, it's like he learned nothing from his experience with Cell. I'm like, no. He didn't do it to someone else this time. He put himself in that position this time. That's growth. There's a lot of like behind the scenes unstated growth and character moments in Dragon Ball that I don't think get enough credit.
Oh, for sure.
Like the whole Goku accepting his Saiyanness, kind of begrudgingly in the fight against Frieza is a really good example. The more recent example I really like is Goku kind of accepting culpability for his irresponsible actions in the Tournament of Power, displayed in the fight with Broly, because he doesn't drag it out to try to push himself to Ultra Instinct again. He makes the decision, okay, this is getting out of hand, Vegeta, we need to fuse so we can end this in a responsible way. Because I feel like if Broly had happened somehow had happened in the previous arc, Goku would have just kept fighting him until he got put in Ultra Instinct. Damn the consequences. So I think that's a silent growth thing that no one remarks on, because it's just there in the text for you to interpret. But Dragon Ball fans, I don't know, aren't smart enough to interpret.
I think it's just like it's one of those things where, and again, I see this a lot with people, and I think it's just that no one is encouraging that, like, oh no, but look at it, because we see this, because we do Dragon Ball DC, we also do DC comic stuff, and we analyze that, and like stuff like that gets picked up on all the time in like comic reviews. Like if a book doesn't have stuff like that, people will be angry. But with Dragon Ball and like manga reviews, a lot of people really just do focus on the action, and that's fine. Don't forgive me for like tone policing or telling you how to enjoy your series. You can be whatever type of fan you want, and you're still valid. But don't pretend that it's not there for it if you do want to look for it. For fans who do like to analyze Dragon Ball and take a little bit of a deeper reading to it. Toyotaro's been really great at that. Toriyama in general with his drafts and Super has been really great with that, and the anime's been great with that as well, with content they've added. So the Super has not been this affront to the purity of Dragon Ball. There is good stuff in here to mine and to get out of it. And I think the Moro arc, well, I definitely think it's not my favorite out of like the Super arcs. It is in the manga wise, at least like strictly like manga to manga. I'm definitely like a bigger fan of like the Future Trunks arc or like the Tournament of Power. I still think it's a really good showing, and I think it's a really good attempt for a first time. I'm gonna write a manga arc that's almost as long as Boo, because this is long, like in page count wise, because the chapters, like Dragon Ball chapters, like 15 pages and came out every week. 48 pages came out a month. I'm not super fast at math, so forgive me for not working it out, but like, roughly equivalent. The Moro arc is like the second longest Dragon Ball arc of all time. And being able to do something like that on your first try and it not falling apart is something to be commended. Like, and the fact that it is good is just like, wow, incredible work. Like, I know if I was trying to write a chapter and draw it as well, like, it's nuts the amount of work the guys put in. And so I do think I want to applaud them for that. Given that, though, and I do want to make sure we do cover this, because this will probably be the thing that gets in like the thumbnail, despite being in like the last 5 minutes of the conversation. How do you feel that now we're going back to a Toriyama drafted arc with a Toriyama, I believe, designed character? Although I'm not sure who's designed Granola.
It does not look like a Toriyama design. It looks like a Hero's design to me.
Yeah, it looks like, you know what he looks like? He looks like a Dragon Quest design. Which Toriyama does do, but it's definitely not like a Dragon Ball. It's weird for Dragon Ball. He looks more like an RPG character, which is interesting. Especially if he is meant to be a villain. When's the last time we've had a human Dragon Ball villain? At least like humanoid.
Yeah, it's been a minute. I love Dragon Ball's way of introducing threats, because like we just got 73 is back, and there's like a whole ship full of 73s, and all of 73's powers that he absorbed, and he's one of the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy. They just got uploaded to all this ship full of things, and then Granola comes in and takes them all out with fucking finger guns.
Yeah, it's like I was amazed at just like he does a Vader hallway sequence, but like with these guys who are like, oh man, they like, this guy was like fighting Gohan, and Gohan fought Kefla, so like this guy just took out like a dozen Keflas. That's insane.
Yeah, that's how Dragon Ball do, man. Like that's what we need more fucking like Future Trunks-esque things, but the villain takes out the old villain just for fun. That's the closest to what we just got, literally. It's great because he just did it with ease, and so he was like, "Oh, Moro, oh, it would have been fine because if he would have destroyed Earth, I would have taken care of him," kind of moment. Some shit like that. I mean, it's cool. Before we get too far into that, let me just say one quick thing: the fucking giant coup is the best fucking move in all of Dragon Ball, and I love it. fucking fighters put that in the game.
The only correction I would have for it is it should have been a great ape. It should have been a great ape silhouette. That would have made me absolutely. Moro arc would have been the best arc of all time for that moment alone. I don't care.
Fair point. You know me, I love my fucking Zoro. So yeah, but Granola, I mean, yeah, he's fine. I know people are complaining about the name. I can't help but wonder if they realize that Dragon Ball, all the characters' names are puns. It'd be funny if like if this is the moment where they just connect it all together.
I mean, like it's what's funny about that as well. Literally the last arc, Moro. Moro is a shark seafood dish. It's like we're all food, guys. It's just that meme of like the earth, and it's like, wait, it's all food puns. Always has been.
Yeah, no, I mean. So it was cool to see him show up, and I don't know, it's weird because he looks to be like a Boba Fett, like a bounty hunter. So many Star Wars references this time. It seems to be such a bounty hunter type kind of deal going for him. So I'm really wondering if Granola's gonna be the main villain, or if he's gonna be like your top henchman, or maybe just your introductory hench for the main threat, because the way it was set up, it really looked like the army of 73s was going to be the next big threat or something like that. But that seems to be pretty wiped the floor with by this point. So whatever Granola is, whatever he is connected to, because obviously he seems to be on some kind of job, should be interesting to see. Do we want to do like bets? This is what's going to happen in the next chapter.
I mean, yeah, you can go ahead. I think that may be a good thing to end it though, because the thing I do want to talk to you about, just in general, like especially compared to Super structure, is this is the first time we've had one arc lead like right into another, like with and honestly, this is the first time that's happened since Saiyan to Namek.
I don't know if it's right in, because you do have a 2-month gap that happens.
But like dealing with 7-3 still, and like the fallout from that, rather than like starting completely from fresh.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of cool. I know like a lot of people are hoping that the next arc would kind of do the end of Z thing or something, because of how instrumental Oob ended up being in this arc. I don't know if Super's ever gonna go past End of Z. If they don't do it now, I don't think it'll ever happen, because the ending with Oob felt so natural for that. But yeah, I mean, I think that's just a consequence of the fact that now they have to kind of do more back-to-back arcs because of what's going on with like the timeline, and the fact that Super's still supposed to be before End of Z. Maybe, I don't know, it's kind of funny because we've now really kind of fleshed out the Galactic Patrol to a degree, and they can go call on Goku and Vegeta whenever they encounter a threat that they really need help taking down. We got Frieza out there being our mustache twirling villain, so they kind of have set everything up for Goku and Vegeta to just go around the galaxy, the universe, solving problems now. So they've set up a status quo where you can do a new threat every week, and this might be the start of that.
And that'd be an interesting direction, and I guess we'll lead straight into the point I so rudely cut you off about, but I'm not going to apologize because I'm the geek for fun here. Is what's all right? Bets. Where's this going?
Okay, my guess is Granola's gonna steal the remains of 73 and take him back to his boss, and his boss is gonna be the true villain. He's gonna be like uber powerful, but goofy in some way, shape, or form. He's gonna like kill Granola so that the trail goes cold, and then he's gonna do something to 73 and become even more uber powerful and be the threat. That's my firm belief. And if it's wrong, if I'm wrong, then the whole arc is garbage.
You heard it here, folks. Alright, so here's my crackpot theory. And I do mean crackpot. Like 100% crackpot. Like this will not happen. But if it happens though. Okay, and this may be just because of certain little character that just got announced for Fighters DLC. And maybe the timing of it is a little too coincidental for my mind. But I think this might be Tuffles. I think we've been teasing Tuffles for a while now. Tuffles are a big thing in Dragon Ball Heroes. And like you said, he looks like a Dragon Ball Heroes character. And we just had the Moro arc have Vegeta deal with the deeds of his past. And if we're leading directly right into it, part of me feels like this might be a version of the Tuffle story being brought into Super, and like Granola might be a Tuffle, or his master might be a Tuffle, or we'll be dealing with that, and not necessarily Baby, or even like Hachiyak or something, but just like the general concepts, like they did with Broly, of where we take the base idea and then we redefine it. I feel like this might be the thing bringing in Tuffles into like the main front line for proper. Again, crackpot, probably not gonna happen, but I just really got that vibe.
A franchise known so well for timing everything out perfectly like that.
I know, right? But I'm just saying, it's like I saw it and I'm like, is this a push? Like, is this a media push?
Because like this is supposedly the arc Toriyama's been drafting in the background,
and Toriyama made the Tuffles. What people forget is he did. It's for a filler scene, but he has in the guidebooks.
I'm sure he totally remembers them.
No, yeah, but like just like Broly, someone will bring it up to him, and then he'll be like, "Did I do that? Okay, I guess I did that. I'll do it again." Like that's just how he works, man. And Toyotaro like is a fan, and I probably if he's like, "Oh, Baby's gonna be in Fighters." Yo, Toriyama said, "Do you remember that?" He's like, "What? You know the Tuffles." Oh, no, I'm not hungry. No, the people on the Earth Saiyan planet that you killed. Oh, did I really do such a thing as that? Laughs. Let me make this draft real quick.
Well, I mean, that would be the real Toriyama move, right? It's like he's supposedly been working on something the entire time Toritaro has been doing the Moro arc. And like the total Toriyama thing is he's just been like looking at porn magazines.
And then the week before he's like, what was I supposed to be doing again? Oh, the arc's ending. Oh, no. Quick, 7-3. Yeah, that was one of your things, right? Well, Toriyama Sensei, you're so considerate using one of my characters. Yeah, ha ha ha. What's in news today? Oh, Baby in Fighters. All right, Tuffle, quick. That is 100% what happened. If he is a Tuffle, that is 100% what happened.
All right, I think we're done with our silliness. Do we want to do like a rating on the Moro arc as a whole?
I mean, that was kind of your thing back in the day of comics reviews. So if you want to, but I don't know. I feel like if our pitch is like positivity or like just like not the general fan discourse of Dragon Ball, I think maybe sticking away from number ratings might be the best call.
That's fine. It's your channel. Just asking.
All right.
Leave in the comments whether or not you want a rating system.
Yeah, leave in the ratings. Like, what's the Moro arc's power level? Like, to the exact digit.
See, that's a really good rating system, though.
Give it a power level.
Yeah, because you could just make up a fucking number and it's meaningless.
and if you're wrong, I'll ban you from the channel. So make sure you're right. Do the math on that one. Alright, folks. Thanks for listening to that. I think the future ones won't be as long as this, but this also kind of turned into like talking about the Moro arc in general. So be sure to check it out and look forward to more chapter reviews and any other topics you would like me and my good buddy Ian to discuss. We'll be happily to listen to any feedback and improve the show as we go along. So thank you.
Bye.
Have fun, geeks.